So, first of all, I guess, like, how has this lockdown been treating you? How have you been finding it all?
Well, it's a mixed thing, isn't it? I have good days and bad days, I have to say. Um, I think if we're wise, it will produce benefits for mankind and the planet. But at the moment, we're surrounded by tragedy. And for me, the loss of freedom is really hard, and it doesn't get any easier as time gets on. It's getting worse, if anything. I feel like everything that I worked for in my life has been kind of taken away and put somewhere where I can't reach it. And particularly my kids, my grandchildren, and all the stuff that I work with, my studio and all the house which holds most of my life, I can't touch. I can't physically touch any of it. And I find it hard. I've been busy. I don't know if you noticed, but I do a lot of playing on Instagram. I do my little micro concerts most nights, and I've had a lot of fun with that. And it's had quite a lot of it's had far-reaching effects. One of which is the record we're about to put out. That it had its birth on Instagram. So how do I feel? I'm fighting it. I'm finding that it gets a little dreary at times. You wake up and it's a little bit like Groundhog Day, the film.
I
Yeah,
know very
particularly
well.
this. Yeah, so I don't know how you're feeling about it. Yeah, it's tough. I find it tough. Um, and I think the realization is dawning on us now that this is not going to be quick. It's not going to be just, we do our time and we get out. It's going to be around for a long time, this virus, and it's not going to be safe for a long time.
No, but not wanting to take, obviously not taking away from the seriousness of the situation. I do feel like there's been some real moments of joy with music throughout this thing. You take from I don't know, people singing on balconies in Spain and Italy. You've had people doing concerts. You've had like Captain Tom this week getting to #1. Have you sort of found yourself appreciating these moments of joy within the music industry that have come out of this?
Yeah, I love it. Music is a great force for uniting people and reinforcing their hope. Um, so yes, I think we have a function, and that kind of warms my heart. The Queen music has had a big effect around the world, particularly in Italy. I think we've always been close to Italy, but seeing people performing Queen songs in the streets, from windows, really touched me very deeply. Because Italy were the first people to really suffer. I think we all looked at that and felt a great affinity, and then realized that that was what was coming to us. I lost a friend last night, and a friend of mine who was pretty much like a brother to me died last night in Nashville, and that's the closest it's come to me physically, and it suddenly swept over me. I thought, yes, all those figures that we see every day on the TV, another 4,000, another 7,000. Oh, it's only 3,000. Each one of those is a family tragedy. Each one of those people lose a loved one, and it's an enormous thing we're facing, just enormous. Um,
Yeah, I'm
so I
very
think there's going to be a major readjustment. I think psychologically the human race is going to be very damaged. I think it kind of is already. We weren't brought up to deal with this kind of situation, and I think there's going to be rebuilding needed. The record I just put out with my girls, my King's Daughters, we donated money to Mind, the charity which looks after mental health, and that was a very conscious decision. I think it's going to become more and more important to deal with the damage that's been done. Um, we're all traumatized to various degrees by this abrupt and catastrophic change in our world.
I'm sorry to hear that you've lost someone close as well. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I kind of didn't sleep last night. Well, I guess I was trying to process it, and of course, his family is in pieces. It's a terrible thing, and their family was very close to our family, so I sort of feel like we lost a family member last night.
And yeah, and the hardest thing is that people can't sort of collectively grieve together in the moment. So it means things like grief are taking on a very um, solitary frame, which is also not natural and sad.
Yeah, and the fact that people have been dying alone in hospitals and were not even able to be visited by their families, their spouses, I mean, their kids. That's a shocking thing. I find that very, very, very shocking. Strange enough, in this particular case, my friend's son was able to kind of fight his way in and put on all the gear, and be with his dad as he died. So that was a major thing, and I think room has to be made for that. There has to
Yeah,
be.
and I think it's nice that you can, in a small way as well, provide some some joy for people in these times, and give us a collective experience through music, which not you've got an outlet for that, which is a nice thing to have, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, yeah, I've really found it good. It's been good for my soul, apart from everyone else's. I find I get such incredible response when I sit in my living room and play a piece and put it out there and ask people to interact. I have this hashmark jam with Bry thing going on. So most of the things I put out, I invite people to play on, and then they put it up on Instagram, and I can see it if they put the hashmark on. So it's been a great thing. I feel there's been a real nice kind of reinforcement going on in that little community of which I'm a part. And that's how this record happened. As you probably know, I put my We Are the Champions track up, just a very quick one take rendition on guitar, knowing that people would start to play with it because I was inviting them, jam with Bry, hashmark. But I also thought in my head, it started to evolve in my head at that point. I thought, what if Roger did this as well? He got on there and then he put it back up, and then it would be like jam with Bry and Rog. And then what if Adam seized it and decided to sing on it? So it was kind of, I, I was happy for it to evolve organically out there, but I did have the kind of plan in my head. I like to be, I have fun being a prophet. I love to set up situations and watch them happen. So I thought this could really excite people. It could make me feel that I'm doing something, and it would also make people feel involved out there, and it would lead us to a place where we would have a product. Now, normally our records are made in very high-tech situations with wonderful equipment. We've grown up to kind of take that as the norm. This was all done on our iPhones in our living room. And for the first time, we have a fully fledged kind of Queen and Adam Lambert record, all done at home. Um, so it worked out as I hoped, and Adam did an extraordinary job of singing it. I just love the way he's done it. And we made that decision. And actually, Adam improvised it, first of all, to change the we to you are the champions at the end, to point it. Now, that also kind of was in my head. I thought if we end up with a record which is viable, we can put it out as a product and people can buy it, and the money can go to all the people who are working in the front lines against this virus all around the world. So we talked to the WHO, not the WHO, but the WHO, and said, how do you feel about us doing this? And they were into it. So it's great. It's in collaboration with the WHO for their fund, which supports medics and carers all around the world who are fighting this hideous coronavirus.
I mean, what better lyrics as well for this? It's so appropriate that it could have almost been
It
written for
is.
this.
Yeah, and Freddie was a great seer in his way. The song has so much joy in it, so much belief, and an amazing power to unite people. We Are the Champions is something that people can feel in the face of adversity of all kinds, and it's become a real international anthem for belief and cooperation and for being collectively champions.
I mean, yeah, I was going to say, Mark, you must have seen it used so many times over the years in so many different types of scenarios and situations. Are there
Mm.
some that, up to this point, stand out as particularly poignant to you? How it's been used?
Well, just prior to all this breaking out, we were touring in Australia and the Far East, and we did a concert to benefit the victims of the fires in Australia. And it was very appropriate there too. We went on stage and did We Will Rock You and We're the Champions. In fact, we did the whole Live Aid set because it's kind of seemed appropriate. And the feeling was incredible, the energy it generated. It's just made for that kind of thing. I suppose we've always spoken from our hearts in our music, and we've spoken as normal people. We speak about normal people's dreams and aspirations and fears and the need to pick themselves up and face things in their lives. So most of our songs have that in them, like We'll Rock You, We're the Champions, I Want to Break Free. I Want It All. They tend to be kind of anthemic because they talk about the emotions that are in all of us. So it wasn't calculated. That's just the way we were. That's just the way we spoke in our music. But it seems now to be very appropriate to these situations where you need to unite people. It's a great tool. And music in general is a great healer and a great uniting force. And it's a great gift that Queen music has that particular power. So I feel, when the genesis of this idea came in my head, I thought this is a great way to use the legacy that we have to do some good in the world. We don't really need to make money anymore. We don't need to be any more famous. We need to use what we have in the best possible way. And who would have thought we'd be facing this kind of challenge? It kind of amuses me in a way. At the turn of the century, year 2000, I think humanity thought it had kind of conquered most of the problems of humanity, didn't it? People thought, yeah, we've got it all under control. This is the new century, and here we are, the whole of the human race brought to its knees by one very clever little virus.
And we're also, we're all realizing how important, and not that we didn't realize before, but as a collective, we're all realizing how important these carers and doctors and all these people are, and everyone getting out on the streets and clapping every week, all these things we never before seen. And again, you're highlighting these are our champions. It's lovely to see, although obviously we all wish it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, it's incredible, and they weren't appreciated all this time. And nurses and doctors were working incredibly long hours for a long time on ridiculously low pay. And the National Health Service was being attacked from all sides, and it was being dismantled by a succession of governments over the last 10 or 12 years in Britain. And suddenly we all realize we need these people and we should be looking after them, paying them properly, and protecting them. To me, it's an eternal shame and a blot on our history that we sent these incredibly brave people into battle without the proper protection. I mean, that's a scandal beyond belief. I actually heard a spokesman for the government last week saying, well, we did pretty well, and the health service didn't get overwhelmed. And I thought, really? And you have seen doctors and nurses get sick and die, and you still think you did a good job? Well, I'm sorry, no, we were not prepared, and we were not quick enough off the mark, and families everywhere are paying the price.
Oh, you're right. Is it right that is Roger's daughter actually a doctor as well? Is that correct? She works.
She is.
So
Yeah.
Henry, I guess
These young people it takes so long to become a doctor. It takes years and years of dedication. I think she's been 9 years in training, and then they're sent in to a place where there's a palpable risk without the proper gear. It's scandalous beyond belief. These people are at the beginning of their careers, and some of them are getting sick and losing everything.
And I believe the video. I haven't seen the video yet because I know it's not quite ready to show me. I think it's going to be ready, but you're going to have a music video to accompany us with, I believe, with some carers and doctors in it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
How did How did that kind of come about? Did you just get people to film different bits and send in? Because obviously we haven't got the normal ability to go around and get all this footage.
Well, it's a secret.
Oh.
No, it came together from various sources actually, and a lot of people were very helpful, and we'll be thanking a lot of people. Our wonderful video director Simon Lupton stepped in and brought some cohesion to the story that we're telling, and also found some footage. But it's very international. We do show empty streets in London, but also in Tokyo and in Asia and America and all around the world, Europe. So there's quite a lot in there, and it's very much of the times. We see the empty streets, and we feel the effect of the attack that's been mounted on us. We then see people working, making the protective gear, um, manning the ambulances, manning the hospitals with the patients. And then at the climax, we see the public appreciating them. So the kind of journey, that's kind of in a nutshell. There's a few other little twists in there, but basically that's what it is. And at the end, it's all of us applauding these brave people.
Oh, that sounds lovely. And of course, you've got Adam in there, so you've got you've got an international feel in the song anyway.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I think it was the first song you guys ever performed together. Is that right? When he was on, what was he on Idol? I can't remember. The American Idol.
Yes,
Mm.
you're right. I hadn't thought of that. That's right. Yeah, we went over when he was in the final of American Idol, and played with both of the guys who were in the final. And it was quite strange because they were both really good singers, but immediately there was a kind of irresistible chemistry between us and Adam, and it was hard to sort of not favor him because it was so obvious that we were kind of hitting it off. And we had to be very patient because we had a great feeling about it. But it was actually about 18 months before we could get together and investigate the possibility of actually playing a show together. First show we ever did was in Belfast, um, an awards show, and we played "Show Must Go On," "We Will Rock You," and "We're the Champions." And as one, the world went, "Yes, that's what we want. That's what we want you to do." So it's led to all this. I mean, the tour we've just been doing, we just had to abort. Was the biggest tour we'd ever done, bar none. You know, the biggest Queen tour ever, all around. Firstly Australia, lastly Australia, but South Korea and Japan, and before that America. And the tour which we had booked for Europe and Britain was the biggest tour we'd ever done here. Also, we had 10 nights um, in the O2 booked. 400,000 tickets were sold for that tour, so it was pretty heartbreaking to have to let it go. We have rescheduled for next year, and we're all crossing our fingers. We don't know, do we? We don't know if it's going to be appropriate to get thousands of people in one room, even in 12 months from now. But fingers crossed, maybe we'll find a way. But we have to reprioritize. We have to restructure everything. I think we have to ask ourselves questions now. Do we need to return to the old ways of polluting and using up all the fossil fuel? Do we need to be so destructive of the habitat of the other creatures on Earth? You know, do we need to keep abusing animals and breeding them for food? I mean, I became a vegan just about the time all this started, strangely enough. I wanted to be anyway, but this has definitely reinforced my feeling that veganism is the future. Plant-based food is the only way, because it's disgracefully inefficient for the planet and unhealthy for the planet. It's unhealthy for us to be eating animals, and my God, it's unhealthy for the animals. The animals are so disrespected and abused, and the more we learn about the sensibilities of animals, the more intolerable it seems to me that we should be using them as a commodity. We should respect every animal on Earth, in my opinion. That's where I start from. I hold it self-evident that every animal, including humans on this planet, should be worthy of respect and given respect.
I think
So
right. I think there'll be. I think things will change. You know, I don't. We're definitely not going to just come out of this and nothing will change. I feel that there will be big changes, and I think in all industries and in all people. And it will be interesting to see what happens to the music industry because, as you say, likely that could be the last thing to come back. Big concerts and gigs, because that's lots of people, isn't it? We don't really know how it's
yeah,
going to work, but
yeah, and maybe it's not appropriate to be going around the world in big gas guzzling planes. I don't know. It's a hard one. That's a really hard one because we have brought music firsthand to people all around the world, and it's been a joyful thing that we've done all through our career. And I've loved it and been very proud of it. But I'm asking the question now, do we go back to the old ways? I'm not sure. I'm really not sure at all.
then at the same time, you do what entertainment is going to be important because I think people do need
Yeah.
films, music, TV. It's what's keeping
Yeah.
a lot of people going at the moment. Those
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're finding new ways, aren't we? And we'll continue to do that. And I think new ways will come up all the time. We're adapting. It's funny what people can adapt to.
Well, thank you so much. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Thank you, Louise.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing the video when it comes out and hearing all. And good luck with it all. I hope you raise loads of money. But I think it's.
Yes,
I think it's
thank you. Yeah, thank you for your support.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I think it's a great thing. It happened so quickly and in such a kind of old school way, in a sense. Although it's kind of modern technology, it's primitive, uh, and
basics.
you can't. Yeah, and of course, when you're performing on Instagram, you can't drop in. You can't sort of change bits of it. You have to. It has to be one take. It's like the old ways, really. You just press the button and you perform. So maybe it's good for all of us.
Exactly. Good. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and hang in there.
Thank you.
And yeah, lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Enjoyed it.
so much.
God
Thanks.
bless.
Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.